My ex-boyfriend was best friends with my boyfriend. Let's talk about it. It's been over 10, 11 years since this all went down, and I still think about it because it's crazy. This is going to be like a longer story time. I'm just going to start with part one, see how it goes, and then we'll go from there. So, like I said, this is an old story, so it starts in eighth grade. I meet Jake, and we're going to call him Jake for the sake of the story, even though I'm not ashamed of my boyfriend. I'm just going to give him code names because I'm going to give a code name to my ex. So, what gives, right? So, Jake, that's what we're going to call him. I meet him in eighth grade. We had the same English class, and despite going to the same school for 4 years, I just never met him. So, I meet him in this class. And my first initial thought of him was that he was cool. I had similar interests. He was funny, and he was a bit quiet, but nothing wrong with that. And I just had this class with him. We're gonna fast forward. We go to high school. I went to this high school that was basically a normal school, except if you got into their arts department, they had a school within a school. So you had to audition for whatever major, I'll say in air quotes, you were interested in. So I was interested in theater. I never did theater before high school, which is important. We'll explain why. And so I auditioned, I got in. Jake also auditioned and he got in. So we both were admitted to this program where we would be at school for 2 extra hours after hours to do theater. So we got a little bit closer as friends and this and that. And I kind of got the vibe that he might have liked me, but I wasn't really super secure in knowing that because I don't know if I explained it in this video. I've recorded this a few times, but I am demisexual. So what that means for me is that it takes me a really long time to figure out distinguishing my feelings between friends, platonic, and a potential relationship. And I need to build a lot of trust. I need to know this person. I don't do hookups. I simply cannot. The thought of it makes me literally want to hurl, right? That's my version of it. And again, it's different for everybody, but that's how I feel about it. So I just was very much strictly he's my friend, so that's how we're gonna stay, right? Right. So now we're in our freshman year. It's homecoming season. So October, right? I was telling my friends at the time, I remember, I was like, I'm not going to homecoming. They're like, why aren't you going? It's your freshman year. You have to go. I'm like, I'm not going. I'm not really a party person. Never really have been. I go to parties now because I'm, in my 20s, but I'm just an introvert at heart. I like to think I'm an extrovert, but I'm more of an introvert. I'm an ambivert, whatever. So, I was very certain not going to homecoming. No one's gonna ask me, so who cares? My freshman theater cohort has a Halloween party, and Jake has a HOCO proposal for me, and he asks me at this party. I said yes, because I was like, oh my God, I'll go with one of my friends. Right? Sorry, I'm sick. But, so yeah, I thought, we would go as friends and this and that. It was so embarrassing. I literally told him, oh my God, we're going as friends. We're probably not going to date after this, but, I was awful to this kid. Poor Jake. I literally just was like, yeah, we're going to go as friends. And he was a trooper. He was cool with it. He was like, yeah, whatever, right? So HOCO happens. It was fun. I had fun, except I had my very first panic attack, which was so lame. It was not his fault. It was I wasn't even anxious really, and my body just decided to have one, right? And I didn't even know it was a panic attack until years later, but anyway. So that does not affect how I felt about Jake. I still was just meh, I don't really like him that way, but that's okay. So after homecoming, I told him hey, don't feel the same way. Heart you though. Let's still be friends. And he was cool with it. He was like, yeah, heard. So that's where this ends for now. We're gonna need to remember Jake, okay? Okay. So after homecoming happens, it's now January, February of freshman year. I meet this one kid in my theater cohort that I just simply really didn't interact with because I didn't know him, because my high school did this thing called like inter-district transfers, where if you were interested in the arts or sports, you could apply to go to the school, but you have to be in one of those extracurriculars. So my ex-boyfriend, who for the sake of the story we're going to name Braden, he joined my school through that program through the theater department. And so never grew up with this kid, did not know this kid, and I just only meet him halfway through my freshman semester. Well, talk to him really. So we were in a class one day, we were in acting class, and he just asked me, he's like, so what like musicals do you like? Like, it was just a random conversation, we were just talking, right? And at the time, again, I didn't do theater before high school, so all I knew was Heathers, Hamilton, Dear Evan Hansen, Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet 1812, all of the stuff that was coming out in 2016, 2015, right? So I told him that, and he was like, oh, so like you don't know West Side Story, you don't know Phantom, you don't know like any classics. I was like, no. So he was like, oh, okay, well, here's my number, we're gonna chat, I'm gonna show you some new shows. I was like, cool. When this happened, there was a tiny, 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 tiny gut feeling I had that this was going to turn into something. I just didn't know what. Because also, my thing with being demisexual is I never can, with at least men, I can never differentiate what's friendly and what's romantic. And so for me, I was just kind of like, I'm not really sure where this is going. But until I have anything to prove otherwise, we're going to be friends. So we're friends pretty much from January through the rest of the semester. He would show me new musicals. I would give him my opinion on it. He would give me a new one like almost every week, every other day, whatever. And like we would talk over text, like normal conversation, like how are you doing? How was your day at school? This and that, whatever. Because obviously I see him for 2 hours every day, but like, you know. And summer hits. And he gets a job at the like hotel where I live because I'm from a tourist town and seasonal work, right? So he's a commuter, like I said, like he's out of district. So his commute to my school was 30 minutes. And so to get to this hotel, also 30 minutes. So he would commute in for work. And then because he'd commute in, he'd be like, hey, after I get off my shift, we should hang out. Or, hey, we should do this. Hey, we should do that. Like he would offer to hang out with me. He also kind of more or less offered to just come to my house and watch movies because he was like, oh, you haven't seen this movie. Let's watch this movie, whatever. And my parents are pretty overprotective, so it was really hard to navigate, but at some point I finally was just like, hey, I have a friend, he's a guy, can he come over and watch movies or whatever? And they were like, sure. So anyway, that happens, and for the rest of like the summer before this next semester, the next school year started, so we were sophomores, he like kind of like was sprinkling it in that he might like me, but I was just so like, oh, we're friends, that I just didn't really let it go any more than that. So now we're going to fast forward again to homecoming season of sophomore year. Again, so convinced I'm not going to get asked to homecoming. No one's going to ask me. I literally was telling people, like, I'm not going because no one's going to ask me and I don't care. Like, I'm not a pick me. I'm not. I just don't care. We were doing Music Man for the theater school that I'm in. I was ensemble, Braden was Marcellus Washburn, and Jake, for the sake of the story, he was in the ensemble. And so during Tech Week, Marcellus, aka Braden, gives me a HOCO proposal that says, will you be my shiphoopy at homecoming? I said yes. I was like, oh, sure, yeah, like, we'll go as friends, that's cool, right? He fully says, like, no, it's a date. Like, I want to go as a date. Can we try that? And I was like, sure. So I'm going to pause there because I'm running out of time. But, yeah, there's more to come.
This is the story of how one of my friends virtually kidnapped my baby and faked an entire pregnancy. Okay, you guys, I have to set the tone for this so that you guys can like understand to the full extent of what I went through. If you want to speed this up, go ahead and hold here, hold it 2 times speed, whatever. So I met my friend, we'll call her Sarah. It's really close to her real name, but we're going to go ahead and play it safe and call her Sarah. I met Sarah through like my neighborhood. We lived in the same apartment complex. Her son was really good friends with my son. So her son was over all the time. My son was over there all the time. We lived in the same apartment complex. We got super close. We started going to the pool together. We would text every day. Like, we got pretty close. So when our friendship first started, we were at the pool together, and I had expressed how I only had one son at the time. I expressed that I wanted more kids. She had 3 kids, and she had told me, this is important to remember, that she had her tubes tied and burned because she did not want any more kids. So tied, burned, and cut, actually. We had a great friendship. We were super close, especially when it came to our sons being best friends. Pretty much we were friends for like a year, and then I ended up pregnant with my second son. So when I found out that I was pregnant, I, of course, went up to her car one morning at the bus stop and was like, I'm pregnant. And she was like, oh my God, I'm so happy for you. But her next statement was, I wish I was pregnant. So as the first and second trimester go on, I'm sending her all of my ultrasound pictures, all the baby updates, and I start getting ready to start planning my baby shower. She did come to my baby shower and she did gift me, but I ended up pretty much proposing to my very best friend, my childhood best friend, to be the godmother of my baby. And I remember that this did quite upset Sarah. She was pretty upset about it. Okay, so I ended up having my son on December 1st, a few weeks early. So he was premature. So I remember, like, she was so upset because I pretty much told her we didn't want any visitors in the hospital. And she got really upset because she wanted to see my son. So I leave the hospital, come home. We're not having any visitors that are not like super close family. So I pretty much kept telling her, like, not yet, not yet. Like, it is flu and cold season, like at its peak, RSV, all the things, and my baby is premature. Like, you cannot come over. And she was very offended by this. So our neighborhood ended up doing like a little Christmas get together where the kids got to come and meet Santa. She was there and I had my baby, and she took a picture with my baby. She posted it and she said, my baby boy. And I didn't think anything of it. I mean, she tagged me and everything, and finally got to meet my baby boy or something like that. So fast forward, she is a overnight nurse, I believe was her position. She was a nurse and she was like on call or something. So she had a very flexible schedule for me to go back to work. I could not find a daycare. So she offered to babysit my son for me. I feel like I'm kind of telling the story all over the place, but we're getting to the juicy stuff. So hold tight. Okay, so she started watching my baby around 8 weeks old. She watched him for a few months, and every day, like clockwork, she was posting videos and pictures, and I didn't think much of it, even though other people were pointing it out to me that it was very strange that she kept saying my baby boy, my baby boy. But she was tagging me in them. So like, okay, while she was babysitting, she would literally beg me for my infant that was breastfed to spend the night. My oldest would spend the night, and she would be like, I want to take the baby for you. I want you to have like a break. I want you to be able to sleep tonight. I can watch him overnight. And I mean, this was like clockwork, like always. I want your baby to spend the night with me. I want your baby to spend the night with me. I want to keep your baby overnight. I want to keep your baby overnight. And I was like, no. He was a breastfed baby. And as a mom, I would think that you would know that no. About 3 months, I think, or 2 months in to her babysitting for me. So one day I drop off my son. I start to get ready and to head into work. And she calls me absolutely hysterical, which I understand. Her mom had OD'd. So I rushed to her house and I end up going with her, checking on her mom. Unfortunately, her mom did not make it, which was super, super sad. So she became very inconsistent when it came to babysitting for me. He was no longer in her care anymore. I am running out of time and I hate to do parts for you guys, but I do have to do a part 2 for this. So skip over to the next video and you'll hear all of the details of how she faked a pregnancy and how she virtually kidnapped my son.
Story time about how my teacher got arrested at school for being a kid diddler. Okay, so I'm just gonna give some backstory. This wasn't like a real school. This was like an alternative school. Basically, the way this school was set up, like, we didn't have teachers, we had paras, basically, and we called them by their first names. And y'all, what we would do at this school, like, we worked at our own pace, like, we made our own projects, you know? And me, I was on an IEP because I'm terrible at math, and if you know anything about IEPs, you have to have, like, a social worker. So the social worker that was assigned to me actually ended up being the one who got arrested. So this all starts in, like, 8th grade, I think. It's like a normal day. I'm hanging out with my friends, and I had recently just, like, pierced this side of my nose, right? And I literally pierced it with an earring, guys. I pierced it with an earring. So, obviously, it got really bad infected. So, I'm at school, and I'm looking at my nose, and I'm showing my friends, and I'm like, that's infected, isn't it? It was so bad. Like, this whole nostril was swollen. And so, me and my best friend, I'm just gonna call her Jay. She was like, oh, well, you should go ask. And then this is the teacher who got arrested. I'm gonna call him Derek. She was like, you should go ask Derek if he has anything to clean it because he's the one that has all the, like, the medical shit. So I go up, and he's low-key, like, one of my favorite teachers. Like, he's genuinely, like, or so I thought. He was, like, such a good dude. Like, he was funny. Like, he was one of my favorite teachers ever, and he was my social worker. And I go up to him, and I'm like, do you have anything I can clean this with? And he goes and, like, he gets me, like, a bandage and some stuff to put on it, whatever. So I'm like, thank you, and then, like, we ended up, like, talking and just having a conversation after. And then he reminded me, he was like, by the way, we have, like, an IEP meeting today, like, around noon. So I'm like, okay. And y'all, I'm just sitting there, and I'm chilling, right? And I look at the clock, and I'm like, oh, it's 12, I gotta go to the IEP meeting. So I'm walking toward the little office that we always hold them in. And all of a sudden, a para comes out of nowhere, and she's like, oh, you can't go over here. I'm like, what do you mean? I have a meeting to attend, ma'am. She's like, no, you cannot come over here right now. There's some stuff going on. You can't come over here. And she's still blocking the little hallway. And as she's blocking it, like, I see these officers walking up the stairs. And mind y'all, Derek, he's in the freaking office waiting for me. He's waiting for me. So I'm like, what's going on? Like, I'm confused. And she's like, nothing, go sit down. And then the whole school, like, they get into a crowd and we're just watching this go down. The police knock on it, they say his name, and they're like, we're placing you under arrest, blah, blah, blah. They place him under arrest, and he looks confused. He looks mad. I'm like, what the heck? What did he do, bro? And I guess a lot of kids favored this teacher because whenever the police started walking him down and, like, putting him in the cop car, we were all looking through the window. And this dramatic girl, bro, oh my god, I have stories about her. Bro, she starts, like, you can tell she's fake crying. I've never even seen her have a conversation with him. Like, she did things like this all the time. She's like, no! And she starts running all dramatically down the stairs. And she's like, no, stop! He didn't do anything wrong! Put him down! And the teachers are trying to, like, pin her, like, calm down, bro. Like, what are you doing? And she's like, no! Are you okay, ma'am? Are you okay? Anyways, so we look out the window, whatever. We're still looking. They place him in the cop car, and then after a little while, they drive off. So I go home, and I'm confused. And I'm like, I'm texting my friends, and I'm like, does anyone have an update on Derek? Like, what did he do? So let me give y'all some backstory on this, okay? So we weren't a real school, right? Like, I mean, it's a real school. It's an alternative school is what I mean. So we really didn't need buses or anything. There wasn't a lot of kids, and we just had these 2 vans, these pretty big vans, and a para would drive it and, like, drop us off at our houses. And he happened to be one of the paras that, like, drop kids off or whatever. So there's this girl. Me and her low-key had beef. I'm not even gonna lie with y'all. But apparently that was the girl that he diddled, I guess. So anyways, the story goes that he was dropping everyone off, like, doing his normal route like usual. And then apparently, I guess she was, like, the last to be dropped off or whatever. And apparently Derek, like, looks at her and he's like, hey, like, instead of going home, do you want to come smoke some cigarettes with me or whatever? And she's all like, yeah, let's go. So apparently they went and smoked somewhere, and PG-13 things happen. Sorry, non-PG-13 things happen. My bad, guys. But anyways, nobody ever saw Derek after that. I'm pretty sure he's still in prison. Shout out to that alternative school. I have crazy stories from there. If y'all want to listen to them, let me know.
So, me and my boyfriend met over a year ago. We've been having fun this past year. We really enjoy each other's company. We're basically in love. We've talked a lot about marriage and kids and a future together, and that's pretty much where we're headed. The only problem is that he's married. So he's been married for 16 years, but him and his wife have completely lost connection with each other. They don't hang out, they don't go out on dates, he's not really attracted to her. And so pretty much I've just been waiting for him to go ahead and get the divorce so that me and him can get married. And that's pretty much what's going to happen next. The only reason why I haven't pushed back is because his wife is the breadwinner. And so she'll give him like a weekly allowance, and it's a lot of money. She makes a lot of money. So he gets a weekly allowance from her. And with that allowance, he's able to, like take me out on dates. Sometimes every now and then when we can, we'll travel. She travels a lot for work. And so when she's traveling, we'll take that opportunity to go and do a vacation for us. He buys me gifts. He recently just got me, maybe 2 months ago, he got me an apartment in River Oaks, and he got me a new car to drive. Well, anyway, things have been going fine, and we weren't really having any issues. I mean, we never really suspected that she was on to us, but she found out about the affair, and she found some explicit photos and some explicit videos of me on his iPad. So since she found the explicit photos and the explicit videos, she went ahead and got mad at him. She filed for divorce. And at this point, I pretty much just had decided to stick with him, because as soon as they get their divorce, then me and him are going to get married. And that's pretty much how the plan has always gone. I mean, just because he's cheated on her doesn't mean, I know he's not going to do that to me. They're going to get a divorce, and me and him are going to get married. But last week, I was served with their divorce papers. So basically, I've been subpoenaed to go to court for their divorce trial, because they're going to trial because she does not want him to get any of her money, and he feels like he deserves half. And I do too, even though he cheated, because that really doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. But I got subpoenaed to go to their trial to testify about the affair, what happened during the affair, how much money he spent on me during the affair, and then they're going to use the explicit videos and photos and basically play them in open court during their trial. And it's just going to be so embarrassing, and like I cannot let these videos get out. Like my grandmother is going to kill me when she sees this, if she has to see this. So now I'm looking for a lawyer to kind of help me with this whole situation and keep all of these videos and photos and keep me from having to testify about the affair at trial. My boyfriend, he's the one who actually found me a lawyer, and he's gonna pay for it with his wife's money. So money is really not an object. I just need like the best lawyer in town, like as quickly as possible. So yeah, and that's how dumb y'all be sounding after y'all call my office and y'all have been cheating, running around town with a married man, and you think he's gonna marry you after he's cheated on his wife, and you want me to represent you. Absolutely not.
Part 4 on how I found out I was pregnant at 31 backwards. And yes, I did turn off my lights. So his mom starts crying when she sees my baby in my tummy. And my mom's trying to calm her down by just kind of rubbing her back, patting it, whatever you want to call it. All of a sudden, they walk out and say that they can't do it. So I just start bawling even more. And honestly, at that point, I just want to leave. So they get done with the scan and everything. He's blowing up my phone. I'm not paying attention because I'm trying to figure out what's going on inside my body. By the time that the scan was done, the lady said that I was around 19 weeks and 3 days. So I'm like sitting there, they pull out models of babies and like how they look, or like how big they are, at like 10 weeks, 15 weeks, 19 weeks, all that. So he's like tiny. That appointment gets done, we leave. I read my mom the text that he sent me. And it was a text of him saying he doesn't want to be in my life or his kid's life. Keep in mind, he's 51 backwards, and I'm 31 backwards. So I just started crying even more because, like, I invited you to my ultrasound, and you walk out, and now you say this? Okay. So that moment there, I was, like, just pretty much done with him. So my mom tells me pretty much, do not text him anymore. There's no point, and it's just going to make everything a lot harder. So we get home, we tell my dad pretty much everything that happened, and we start setting up, like, a WIC appointment and, like, an OB appointment and all of that. 2 days later, I go in for my OB appointment, and they do the scan, and they tell me that I was having a boy, and that I was 19 weeks and 5 days. I get my blood drawn, and they pretty much told me everything was good. We set up the next appointment, which was like 2 weeks later, I think, because I had a lot of appointments to catch up on, obviously. We go home, and that same day I also had a WIC appointment. So we go into WIC, and we're like talking to them and doing all that. And he's like still trying to text me. And yes, I was responding, but I wasn't supposed to be. So a couple, like 2 weeks later-ish, my mom calls me, and his mom had ended up calling my mom's work, saying that I wasn't getting the care that I needed and all this other stuff. Keep in mind, I literally have a nurse that comes to the house and teaches me about everything that's like going on inside my body just because of my age. And so my mom obviously asked me, have you been talking to him? I lied and I said no. Go to part 5.
I'm in a bit of a dilemma right now, and I'm like, I need to know if I'm crazy overreacting or if everything is completely valid as to why I'm feeling the way I do. I've recreated this video quite a few times, but so my boyfriend has this online friend, like girlfriend, she's a girl, and they weren't like super close, but in middle school they would like talk, like how you have like a middle school friend, like it is what it is. And like every year since then they kind of just like caught up, like, hey, you still exist, cool, how you doing, cool. And then they would never talk again for like a good year, few months, whatever. I'm literally shaking because it just makes me so mad, I don't know why. And then she reached out again this year in January saying like, hey, like how have you been, like I'm in a really good relationship, you know, like all this, because she's always been in abusive relationships and she was never been allowed to have friends the opposite gender, so that's why she's like kind of ghosted him a lot, which I get. But they caught up for a couple hours that night. I was at work, totally fine, I don't care, it's a childhood friend. She ghosted him again and then texted him, reached back out around August, September. And they were just talking. No alarm bells were going off. My boyfriend told me everything. It is what it is. The thing that made my, like, radar go up, and I've had a bad gut feeling since this. I don't know what it is. But during their conversation, they were talking about how he put it as, like, a therapy session. Like, she was having problems with her boyfriend, and that was it. But she asked him, like, maybe 4 or 5 times if I'm comfortable with them communicating. And every single time he was like, yes, absolutely. She knows about you. She's totally okay with it. But she asked him so many times in that conversation. And maybe I'm overanalyzing it, but I wouldn't ask that, like, unless I had different intentions. I don't know. Like, maybe I would ask, like, once, like, are you sure, like, they're comfortable? Like, I don't want to be intruding on a relationship or anything, because, you know. But she asked, like, 5 times. And then she quote-unquote said, I'm a girl's girl. That's such a dig to me. I don't know why. That's like a guy saying that he's a nice guy. He's not like other guys. But anyway, that's the first red flag that I caught for me. That really made my gut kind of like, ooh. And then the second red flag was that she only reaches out super late at night, like around 11 o'clock to like midnight, like only texts him during that time frame. That's a little weird. considering this is the third red flag, her boyfriend has no idea that they talk. She will not tell him. That made my heart sink. Because my boyfriend told her, like, I told my girlfriend about you. Like, that's the best thing that you can do. And, like, nothing bad came out of it. It's just being open and honest with your partner about who you're communicating with, especially late at night. Another alarm bell was after the conversation they had about her and her boyfriend having problems. She was like, here's my number. I'm on my way to my boyfriend's. Do you want to call me while I'm driving? And then, you know what she did? She sent him pictures of a bunch of songs that she's listening to that he likes. Like, 80s hair metal. She sent him a bunch of songs that he likes and that she knows he likes. Says, oh my god, look what I'm listening to. I'm sorry, I would only do that when I'm trying to impress a guy and make him, like, interested. But that's just me, though. I don't know. That was the fourth red flag. And the fifth red flag was when they were playing iMessage games. She's like, oh, I'm too drunk for this. That's not the red flag. The red flag is she was at a concert with her friend, her girlfriend, and she kept snapping my boyfriend. Now, the context behind that is my boyfriend and I strictly set a boundary for each other. We do not snap the opposite gender because we are both not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with some girl sending pictures of her face, cute little selfies to my boyfriend. I'm just not. And he knows that, but she was sending drunk, like, pictures, like selfies of herself at this concert. And her boyfriend has no idea. He snapped back, but he didn't think it was a problem. He said he just, like, did, like, the half eye ceiling kind of snapbacks. And I believe him, because that's how he used to snap me when we were dating, when I used to have Snapchat. But I told him that I was not comfortable with this when I found out that they were doing that. And he's like, oh, okay, totally fine. Like, I won't do it again. I knew you were going to talk to me about that. I don't mind, though. So it was fine. But after I told him that, she completely ghosted him. This was, like, the beginning of October. It's November. She completely ghosted him for an entire month. And he even asked me, he's like, did you text her or something? Because she completely ghosted me. And I'm like, no. I want to talk to her and tell her that I'm not okay with this, Pookie. But I didn't text her. And guess what she did last night? She hit him up at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock saying, hey. And she unfollowed him on Instagram. And her boyfriend's gone for training for something, so I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm insecure, maybe I'm psychoanalyzing, overanalyzing everything, but I think this girl is an attention seeker. She's not getting enough attention, so she's trying to look for my boyfriend. And I don't know, if I was a girl in that position, I wouldn't be in that position, because that all seems like really weird behavior, and I could never picture myself doing that. Like, I've caught up with a few, like, guy friends, like, over text, like, saying, hey, dude, how have you been? You're still alive? Stuff like that. And then the conversation ends. It doesn't drag out for weeks. And then I only text them late at night when my boyfriend's not responding. But that's just me. So let me know if I'm crazy, because I feel crazy, but I don't know.
Hey guys, get ready for me while I tell you about why me and my ex-best friend aren't friends anymore. Okay, to clarify, she doesn't have TikTok, and this was about a year ago when it happened. So she will not be seeing this. Okay, so we started being friends in probably like 3 or 4 years ago. So basically I like met her at school and everything, and she's like younger than me, so she's not in my grade. So one time our bus was late and we had to like stay until our bus came to school to get us, whatever. So like I saw her and I started talking to her because she seemed nice. So we started becoming friends, and she lived in my neighborhood. And so then we started hanging out and we started becoming more close, and we were just best friends. When I say best friends, I mean best friends. We went everywhere together. Like, everywhere I went, I was like, oh, can she go too? And we always went everywhere together. Like, we went on vacations together and everything. So one time, we go to this amusement park. I'm not going to say what one it was, but we go to this amusement park together, like with her family and my family. So we're about to leave to go back to our hotel, and I want to do a ride. So I'm like, hey, do you want to do this ride with me? And she's like, no, I don't really feel like it. And I was like, can we, like, I was asking her, like, I was like, oh, okay, why? Like, I asked her why and everything. she was like saying, oh, my stomach hurts, I don't want to do it. And I was like, okay, yeah. So a little bit later, I got a little bit upset about it. I don't know why, but we ended up going on it because she wanted to do it anyways. So we did it anyways, and it was super fun. And after the ride, she started acting really weird. Me and my family were really confused about it because we did nothing and nothing happened. We just went on the ride and we got off and nothing happened, so everything was fine. So we got back to the hotel, and she was supposed to like sleep in our room because the next day we were going to this like other part, and her parents were going home, so she was going to stay with us, and then we would go home that day. So she wouldn't go to our room, and I was like, why? Like, you said you were going to come to our room. And she was like, oh, I don't feel like it right now. And I was like, okay, yeah, whatever, so just come later. And she's like, okay. So it's a little bit later, and she still wasn't there. So I texted her, I'm like, are you coming here? Like, are you going to come to our room? And she was like, oh yeah, I'm coming. So she came, and then we got like food and everything. We got like pizza. I don't even know. We got like pizza and like chicken. I don't even know. So we ate that in her room, and then we came to like my hotel room, and then we like slept there, whatever. We went to the next day. We went to like the next place, and then we went home. So everything's fine. A few months go by, and it's Halloween. So this is, I think, where the problem happened. I don't know what happened, but you're about to find out. So me and her were planning to go out together, and we did, and her friend was going to come with us, so she did. So as we were walking, okay, well, let me give them names. Okay, I'm not going to give their real names, but so my friend, like my best friend, let's just say her name is Sophie, and then her friend is Kayla. Okay, so Sophie and Kayla. So we were walking around my neighborhood trick-or-treating, and Sophie goes, my feet got hurt. I want to go get my shoes. And we were right near the big houses. I knew we weren't going to come back, so I was like, oh, can we like go to these houses real quick to like get the candy, and then we can go to your house to get your new shoes, because she was wearing heels. And she was like, no, I want to go now. And I was like, can't we just go here real quick and then we'll go? Like, we'll be quick because I know we're not going to come back. And she was like, no, I'm going to go now. So she ended up going, and I knew that Kayla wouldn't want to go with her because she wanted to do the big houses. So I was like, do you want to like stay with us? Like, do you want to go with her, or do you want to stay with us? We can walk to these houses, and then we can meet up with her. Like, we can walk around and meet up with her. And then she was like, oh, I'll stay with you guys. Okay, so she stayed with me and my parents, and then Sophie went with her mom to her house to get her shoes. So as Sophie's leaving, she's giving a bit of an attitude. I still don't know why, but she was just acting really weird. It was like she was mad at me for nothing. So me and Kayla go to the next big houses, and we get the candy, and then we walk around to the other part of the neighborhood and meet up with Sophie again. Okay, so once we met up with Sophie again, she was acting really weird and just really mean and bratty, and I didn't know what her problem was. Like, I was really confused because I didn't do anything. She was walking with Kayla the whole time and not even, like, walking with me. So I was even more confused because what did I do? So as we were walking, I was really thirsty, so I told my parents, I was like, I'm so thirsty. Like, can we go get water and then come back? And they were like, no, if you want to get water, then we're going to stay home. We're not going to come back out. And I was like, okay, so I'll just, like, stay. We don't have to go back and get water. They're like, okay. So we continued to trick-or-treat, and basically she was acting more mean and like bratty. I don't even know what her problem was, but whatever. And then a little bit later, I was like, okay, well, I'm getting tired. I don't want to trick-or-treat anymore, and I'm really thirsty, so I wanted to go home. So I told my parents, I was like, okay, can we go now? I don't want to trick-or-treat anymore. And they're like, yeah, okay, let's go. So I told Sophie and Kayla that I was gonna go home because I was really tired, and they were like, okay. And then Sophie was acting all mean. She was like, okay, bye, whatever. So I was like, oh, okay. So a few days later, after Halloween, I get no text from Sophie, which is really weird because we usually like would hang out every day. We would text every day. We would call every day, and I didn't get any texts for like a whole like 3 months. So I was like, what is going on? So I assumed she was mad at me. So I texted her, and I was like, are you mad at me? Like, you're ignoring me? Like, I've been texting you, you're ignoring me, and like, whatever. So the next morning, I get a text back. She's like, hey, I'm sorry, but some friendships must come to an end, whatever, blah, 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 like that. And she was like, think back to what you did on Halloween, and that should answer your question on why I'm ignoring you. And I texted back, I was like, okay, I don't know what I did on Halloween, and if I knew that I hurt your feelings, we could have talked about it, and I would have, like, said sorry. But I didn't know what happened, because I didn't do anything. So then she answered, and she was like, something about, this will be the last text I send. And I was like, okay. Because I was so confused, because what did I do? Like, I clearly didn't do anything. Like, I didn't do anything. I wasn't rude to her. We were just walking around having fun. And I also said in the text message, I was like, I thought we all had fun, but I guess you don't. I guess you don't think that. And whatever. So I was like so confused. So I was like, what even happened? Like, what? Like, I didn't do anything. So after that, she never texted me again. And now we're not friends anymore. And if you guys want more stories like this, because I have had a lot of friendship breakups throughout my life, I can do more if you guys like this. So, yeah. Anyways, let me know if you guys want more stories about my friendship breakups or, like, any of the stories, because I have a lot of stories I could tell. So, anyways, bye, guys.
One time I got into a fight with my older sister, and she told me that my dad wasn't really my dad. So let me share this with you. So this was probably almost 10 years ago now at this time. I was fighting with my sister, and I wish I could even remember what it was about. It was so silly. And I think I said maybe something about her not knowing who her baby dad was or something like that. I don't know. And just for reference, my sisters, I have two sisters. My dad had two children before he met my mom. We are 14 and 15 years apart. So more like a mother-daughter relationship, I would say, than sisters. Never really lived with them growing up. They definitely like took a hand in raising me. So long story short, I say something about, you know, find out who your baby dad is or something like that. I can't remember. And she responds, yeah, well, maybe you should find out who your dad is. How about you start there? And I say, she's so funny. So I call my other sister. And I'm like, can you believe she said that? Like, how crazy? And she's like, yeah, that's nuts. I'm like, why are you responding like that? And 10 years ago, I was like 20, 21 at this time, living by myself with my daughter, like teenage mother, you know, some back trauma. And I'm like, why would you say that? And she's like, you should just call dad. Okay, all right. So I call my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad, this is what, you know, she said. What are you gonna say about that? He's like, she's crazy. If anyone's not mine, it's her. She doesn't look like any of us. I'm like, you're right. So my sisters never really like got along with my mom. So I tell my other sister after I talk to my dad, I'm like, yeah, I talked to Dad, you know, he thinks she's crazy, and it's like, ha, funny. You know, all I can do is get a DNA test, you know. And my sister responds, well, there was one when you were 4. You're not his. I'm sorry, come again, what? So my dad that has raised me my whole life, and I'm not close with my mom's side at all. They don't live here, like, locally. I have been born and raised with my whole dad's side. Very, very close-knit family. I remember looking back on this whole situation. I remember I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror because I was like, who the fuck am I? What do you mean my dad is not my dad? Like, what the fuck? So she tells me that, and I literally won't forget this. I'm driving to Walmart, and I call my dad back, and I'm like hysterical. I'm like, you lied to me, like, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, honey, it doesn't matter. I'm your dad. That's it. Like, it's fine. And we're not like real lovey-dovey, but I just remember just like bawling, crying. So then I call my mom, and I'm like, hey girl, so funny story. You know, this has came to light. And she's like, Madison, don't worry about it. What did you say? Don't worry about it. Okay. And I'm like, no, like, I need answers. What the fuck? She tells me her first response, Madison, you be looking for a ghost. You came from a test tube, okay? I had too many abortions. I couldn't have kids, so I went to a sperm bank, and I got artificial insemination. There's no one to look for. There's nobody to look for. Oh, okay. I came from a tube, you say. Okay, got it. So the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, can I have the records? Can I have the medical records? And she's like, it doesn't even exist anymore. I'm like, nah, they got to be somewhere. I said, I need you to produce those records to me, or I need you to give a name to me within the next 30 days. I'm going to give you 30 days, right? And I just remember being so distraught, right? So again, like I said, I'm a teenage mom. I'm living by myself, on my own, doing my thing. I'm working. And this gets thrown at me. And I'm just like, who am I? Like, what the fuck? So my sister that gave me this information doesn't feel bad at all. She's like, yeah, bitch. And my other sister's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't know when it was a good time to tell you. You know, when was a good time? When your mom was a raging alcoholic and we had to like pay to see you, or when your best friend killed herself when you were in high school, or when you got pregnant at, 18. And I'm just like, I mean, I guess I see your point, but also like, the fuck. So long story short, my mom gives me a name. She's like, so-and-so. He lives in Pittsburgh. This is the name. I'm like, okay. So I sit on that information. And while I'm sitting on that information, I start disclosing with some family members that are my family members from my dad's side. And I'm like, which would be his sister, my aunt. And I'm like, I can't believe this. She goes, I remember there were some rumors when you were born, but, you look just like your dad. So we just thought nothing of it. And we just kind of, carried on. And I'm like, so everybody kind of knew. So then I felt like a joke, like, wow, that's crazy. So my mom gives me his name. I sat on it for a while, and then I looked him up on Facebook. And your brain really does crazy stuff. So I look him up. I find him. I find his wife, because homeboy was married at the time that I was conceived. And I find like all of his family, and I'm like, oh my God, like my daughter looks like, his granddaughter, and da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, oh my God. So I message his sister. I say, hi, my name is Madison. This is a situation. I don't know what's true and what's not true, but this was the name I was given. Do you have any information? She responds that, there was a possibility. Nothing has ever came of it. There's been no test. My mom, stopped reaching out. She changed her number, and that was that. Okay. So he's known then that there was a possibility. Never once. Like, so now I'm feeling like real fucking low, right? I'm like, damn. And then at the same time, I'm such like a non-serious person. I'm like, maybe I'm like a Kardashian. Maybe there's money out there for me. Maybe there's gonna be some guy that's so rich and he's gonna feel so bad, and he's gonna be like, you know what? Here you go. Here is all this money and written into my will. And no. So wait. You just, what a fucking plot twist this is. So okay, that's really the end of it, to be honest. Okay, so I stopped messaging this girl because now I'm like offended because like he sort of knew, but then like I didn't act on it, whatever. Like 2 years later, maybe, for Christmas, a girl at work, my friend, she bought me a ancestry kit. And she goes, take this if you want, on your own time. And at the time, I just thought, I guess in my head, I was like, oh, it's just for like my, whatever your makeup is. You know what I mean? Like, what am I looking for? Your heritage, your ancestry. Like, I didn't think of like family members. I was more thinking of like what I am, my nationality. There we go. Is that the right word? I think that is. Anyways, so I do it, okay? I send it off. I kind of forget about it. At this time, I'm like healed, right? I've come to know, like, I don't know where I came from, but I know that my dad, he stayed, right? My family's my family. And at this point, it's like, I'm just thinking of it as like, I'm just more grateful, right? Like, I'm grateful that my dad, because my mom was batshit crazy, that my dad chose to stick around, for me. So I take tests, whatever, kind of forget about it. Results come back, and I'm at work, and I open my phone, and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like, I'm this percentage this percentage this. And then it's like, oh, your possible matches. Again, I've been raised my whole life to think that my dad is my dad. So, like, I see that my matches are my cousins. And I'm like, oh, yeah, like, that's cool. And then I'm like, wait a second. If I'm not my dad's, how is this person showing up as my cousin? What the fuck? So I immediately stop what I'm doing. I go to the bathroom and I call my sister, and I'm like, you're never gonna believe this. Like, I got my ancestry things, and our cousin is coming up that he is my first cousin. And she's like, what? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, oh my God, wonder if your Uncle Al's. I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my God. So my dad has 3 brothers. So we start going through all the brothers, and she's like, wonder if your Uncle Scott's, wonder if your Uncle Al's, wonder if your, Uncle Bob's. Like, we just start running through all these uncles, and I'm just like, whoa, wow, right? Like, what a fucking plot twist. So now I find out that I'm still from the same family. Still from the same family. I don't know if my dad is my dad. We got to cross off all 3 of his brothers because it has to be a brother for my cousin to show up as my first cousin. So I'm like, okay. So I tell my sister, I'm like, no, you have to take a test because then I'll see what my connection is to you, right? Because then, like, if you show up my cousin, then I know that it's still between the 3 brothers. But I'm just thinking, like, I don't know, you just take it, right? So she takes it. Comes back again, like, after we're trying to piece this together, like, you know, while we're waiting for results. Comes back that she is my half-sister, which that's what I have thought my whole life and what is. And so we get it, and I'm like, well, if dad's not my dad, how are you my half-sibling?
You fool! I have 70 alternative accounts!
It's Halloween, and I know I look crazy, but look, I know everybody who says this is bullshit, whatever. I don't cry, okay? I cry over my kids. It's Halloween. And my 11-year-old daughter has been going through some really hard things. She is getting bullied severely at school, and it's not just by like 1 kid or 2. I mean, there's a couple that are really fucking, but it's like everybody picks on her. And she can't help the way she looks. I think she's beautiful, you know, but she's taller than me, and she's a bigger girl, you know, but she's beautiful. And recently, she told the counselor that she was suicidal and that she'd been hurting herself. And I used to do the same thing, so I know that pain in my poor babies. So we try everything. I've been trying to everything just to help her love her the way she looks, and try to do anything just to boost her confidence because she's so funny and she's so beautiful and she's so cool, and she's just like beyond her years, you know. It's hard to remember she's just 11 all the time. And we had this whole thing planned out this morning for like her makeup. We're broke, you know, we have no money, so we just kind of tried to throw some stuff together, and I could do some cool face paint. She was like, yeah, Mom, I want to do clown makeup. She does amazing makeup. She does amazing makeup. And so we were going to do clown makeup. But in the mornings, she gets really self-conscious because she looks in the mirror and she doesn't like what she sees. So every morning is hard because she doesn't want to go. Because she says no matter what she does, no matter how she tries to look, they're all going to make fun of her, no matter what. And that fucking kills me. I don't want to send my kid to school. On top of everything else, I don't want to send my baby to school. To deal with that every day, to feel like and we were getting her makeup on. I took my youngest. I came back. She already had some of it on. She was like, Mom, I hate it. She looked so cute. And so I tried to, I fixed it. You know, I fixed it. It already looked good. And I fixed it. She looked so cute. And she looked so pretty. I'd got her these cute lashes. And then she was like, I hate it. I hate it. I don't want to do this. And then she wanted to change her outfit. And then she just wanted to take it off, and I was like, baby, let's do cool makeup. I was like, you'll look so cool at school. And you know, I had in my head, I had this, you know, like this idea that like if she had this badass makeup, then nobody could talk shit, right? If she went in there looking fucking badass and beautiful like she was, then there's no way anybody could talk shit to her, you know? So I was kind of pushing it, and I wasn't being ugly. I'm never ugly with her about it because I know, you know? But I was like, baby, I was like, I can't let you miss another day of school, and you're going to miss out on so much. Like, you're going to have so much fun going, I promise. Like, let's be brave and tough it through it. And we kind of argued back and forth, and like we just both ended up in tears because she was like, they're gonna make fun of me no matter what, Mom. I was like, all right, let's just wipe it off. I was getting frustrated and I was trying not to, but I was realizing why. So I was crying. And I told her, like, I'm not mad at you. I was like, I just want you to feel as beautiful as I see. And I want you to have fun at school. I want you to have good experiences. I want people to be nice to you. I want you to be happy. And it's just too much. I'm so worried about her, you know? This little girl who's been bullying her after she came back. My baby girl was gone for a couple weeks for mental health because she had to go to a respite center because she was suicidal. And the day she comes back to school, this little girl's talking shit to her, the first class she's in. And then it just so happens the little girl rides the bus with her. So when she's getting off the bus, the little girl tells her to go unalive herself. And like, I called the school. I did everything except for go to their house, which I know where it is, but I'm not. I told my daughter, you know, not to ever do that. Except for today, I said, you know what, baby? I said, you go to school looking this beautiful and somebody says anything to you. I was like, you knocked the shit out of them. I was like, and you can tell them your mom told you to do that. I know that maybe that was wrong, but I'm so sick of people talking bad to my beautiful baby, making her hate herself. And I don't know why I'm on here. This is hard. This is hard. I let her stay home. And we both felt defeated. And she's in the shower crying right now. I know she is. And I don't know what to do to comfort her or to make it better. And I feel like maybe I could have handled it better. But I didn't yell at her and I did get frustrated, but I didn't. Just because I was pushing her to go, you know. Because I feel like it was the right thing. I was like, baby, I feel like a bad mom if I don't let you go to school. You know, we can't keep missing school, but how can I send my child into the lion's den knowing they're going to eat her alive? That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, what do we do? I hate sending my 5-year-old too, you know? I don't want to send my kids to school anymore. I don't. And I feel like I have no support in that decision. But on top of that, like, is that letting them win? Like, Halloween makeup all over it. I don't know. Moms, please, moms. Mamas, I need some help. I feel like if she just had like an older mentor, like a little bit older girl who would just be nice to her and be her friend. She just needs one friend. Mom's a TikTok, I need you. We need you, please. Please.
Oh, Lord. I'm sorry. I'm just in a silly, goofy mood.
Part 6, because why not get it over with? So now we have at this point been told by the sheriff's department, if I don't hear from them by, say, I think it was like Tuesday of the next week, to go and start doing an order of protection against my daughter. So I do just that. On that Monday, I go for the order of protection. I get it. My husband gets one. And then the funny part is the judge calls us back in with my daughter, with CPS, with their attorneys. Mind you, I don't have my attorney present, but they give an attorney to my daughter, who had an attorney previous to this before they had withdrawn the Article 10. They didn't give her the same one. This attorney decides, your parents try to take your laptop? My goodness, let's get an order of protection against them. So they played some sob story. Was originally denied, and the judge was like, well, let's just do it anyway. Fine, whatever. In less than 2 days, she had violated the order of protection to the point where the cops were at my door. And again, I've had a couple police officers here who are no nonsense and have basically said, you need to quit the shit. You're gonna end up in jail. And when she was served with the criminal charges, because we ended up being able to press the criminal charges, she laughed and said, this is like pins, right? And again, I have the receipts. I have it on recording. The officer was like, no, you don't understand. If you continue this, you're going to end up in juvie. This is not fun and games. 2 days after that, she violates the protective order. She gets served again with probation. And the cop that came back out, again, one of the ones that was like no nonsense, doesn't take any shit, was like, it's going to be different when you're in a cell with people who have done horrible things. Quit the shit. And, she laughs it off, whatever. So eventually they give my daughter her old lawyer back. And he said, we're dropping this. This is nothing. So we have a 1-year order of protection against my daughter. My infant does, my husband does, and I do. Now we're waiting on probation. Now, in the meantime, a new CPS worker comes on because a whole new case has been opened up. This person, my legal representation has said, I think this one's a good egg, just work with them. Fine. She happens to know my daughter because she worked at the daycare my daughter was at when she was super young. She comes in and we're talking, and I said, she spent a good 2 hours at my house. I was like, I need you to hear everything because the last CPS workers didn't. Was able to show her all of the videos of everything. My daughter running away, refusing to come back, admitting that she was lying, that she did it on purpose, that everything she had said was a lie, that she just wanted to get back at me because she was mad. And this is all the stuff that the last people refused to see, which if they had, none of this would be happening. So she comes back out to close the case. And, of course, we have gone through, I'm showing her that, my oldest is spraying perfume in my infant's face. Literally, not like spraying it into the air, directly in her face. I am showing her how she is refusing. She's defiant. You name it, she's doing it in my house. Telling me I'm a stupid mother effer, racial slurs, you name it, she's saying it. It's just coming out of her mouth. So she comes to close the case and she goes, I think the indication, that whole thing, she goes, I told all of our lawyers, I told my supervisors, it was a mistake. They didn't get the full picture. I go, well, that's nice. That's not really helping me, but thank you. And she goes, yeah. I go, but, and I said, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, especially without a lawyer. I said, but they withdrew the Article 10 petition because they didn't have anything. And you know how they were talking about me. And she goes, yeah, there wasn't much there, huh? I go, no. But you dragged me through the mud. Almost lost my job. And she says, yeah. She goes, I'm telling you, I've been telling everybody. This was a huge mistake. Nice. The last 8 months has been a huge mistake and thousands of dollars later. So I said, she goes, well, we're gonna find this unfounded. There's no abuse here. I said, well, I know that. You know that. I said, will this help me with the fair hearing? She goes, yeah. She goes, if we don't have anything and you have a lawyer, she goes, they'll probably just drop it. Usually that's what happens if we don't want to, continue to pursue it. I said, okay. So you've just pretty much explained to me in not so many words that this was for funsies. You dragged me through the mud for funsies. You withdrew an Article 10 petition because you didn't have anything. The only way you thought you'd get me was to go through OCFS. That backfired. So that was, I don't know, a Thursday, like in the beginning of November. The following Thursday, I think it was the week before Thanksgiving, I get an email from the supervisor who dug her heels in saying that I was a child abuser and I did all these things. An email comes out saying, yeah, we're not gonna go through with a fair hearing. We agree to go ahead and give her what she's seeking, which is full relief and the full appeal. And so the judge at the fair hearing courthouse, the administrative law judge, says, okay, they win their appeal. No abuse was found. 8 months of watching my daughter not be held accountable, of walking on eggshells, of coming very close to losing my job because there is an article or a piece in an indicated report that says if the indication does or doesn't directly affect your job. Well, unfortunately for me, it directly affected my job, and they made sure they told me that. If you want to go get a job, if you want to do anything, you will be on the state central registry as a child abuser. One of the biggest things too is that, at least here in my state, if you are indicated and it doesn't get appealed or expunged, then it stays on the state central registry until the youngest on the report, which would only be my 16-year-old, is 28 years old. I would have been well into my 40s before I could have actually gotten a job uninhibited or not been denied. That's exactly what they wanted. None of this was to benefit my daughter. They didn't provide anything for her. The last social worker actually said, and I quote, I said, they haven't been back to my house since May, but they closed the report. She goes, well, they can't do that. I go, well, they did. She goes, well, they have to tell you if they found it or not. I go, right. She goes, oh, right. Didn't follow protocol. Didn't do what they were supposed to. This was because I questioned them. Because I said, you guys need to be licensed. You have to have the knowledge of family systems, of the complexity of a lot of different things, and be credentialed to assess appropriately. In either case, I am trying to find a lawyer and or do it pro se to go after them for pain and suffering and for my legal fees. None of this would have happened if they had just listened. But thank you for sticking with me this far. Hopefully we can start raising awareness for people who have been dragged through the mud with CPS and the family courts.